Reality is basically a mirror. That is, whatever is inside of you, it is reflected outside. And if you understand this very powerful concept, then you're going to go way ahead in your life. So humans first discovered mirror at around 6000 BCE with the help of obsidian rock at around Mesopotamia. And they saw their reflection and must have been very intrigued. And today you're going to be very intrigued yourself because I'm going to introduce you a completely new perspective, a completely new phenomenon, that reality that you see right now. That is the world that you're living in, the universe that you're living in itself is a mirror, which means the object that you present to it represents what the image is going to be formed. Object is your internal thought and image is your reality. So let's get really deep into it. Before getting deep into it, I'd like to quickly recall you about your 8th grade mirror and lenses class. Okay, in that class, you have probably learned that if you place a mirror in a certain angle, and if you place an object, then the image form would be different if you change the object to a little bit here, or maybe here, or change the mirror's direction, angle, etc., etc. And we used to try to calculate where the image would be formed, right? Now, imagine that the object is your internal world. By internal world, I mean your thoughts, your emotions, your identity, everything is your internal world. And the image is your reality. And by reality, I mean what money you make, what car you drive, what people you're with, whom you hang out with, which work do you do, etc., etc. So if you want a better image, then you just need to change your object. Now, all of this sounds like a very philosophical, woo-woo, pseudoscience, spiritual thing to you, but I'd like to talk about where I got this whole idea from, and I'll also give you my own journey or my own case study with this mirror principle. So this whole thing is directly derived from the quantum physicist Vadim Zeland's book, Reality Transurfing. There, he talks about how mirror not just is a object mirror, but there is also this reality mirror, which almost acts like the mirror that you see yourself in. But the only difference is it exists in this metaphysical world. And what he says is, whatever internal state you're in will directly correspond how your reality is going to be like. And if you want to change your reality, you'll just have to change your object. That is, you'll just have to change your internal world. And he also, since he's a quantum physicist, he also refers to this famous either an electron is a particle or a wave experiment. I don't know what the experiment's name exactly is, but it goes like this. So scientists try to study electrons and protons, and they shoot them in a seed, okay? And when they shoot them over there, they get surprised because they were expecting electrons to be behaving like a particle. Like I don't want to go too scientific, but basically they're expecting an electron to be a particle, so it should just pass through the sheet. But then it doesn't. It shows a wave-like property. And when it shows a wave-like property, they are very surprised. And what they do, they place a detector around there to observe why it is behaving like that. And when they try to observe it with the help of the detector, what they realize is it acts like a particle again. And they're sort of confused now. When we don't observe it, it acts like a wave. But when we try to observe it, it acts like a particle. And they think maybe it's a mistake. And they repeat the experiment multiple times. And the results is still the same. Hence, there are multiple conclusions to that experiment. And Vadim Zeland, being a quantum physicist himself, he takes one of the explanation from there to describe why reality is a mirror. That explanation is reality in itself is probabilistic. Okay, that is, when there is a wave, there is if electron is acting like a wave, that means it's probabilistic. There is any probability that can happen. There is countless, endless possibilities, multiple possibilities, multiple ways that a electron can go to. It's just like your reality. There are infinite realities, infinite possibilities when it is not observed. When you do not observe the particle, or when you don't observe the electron. But when you absorb it, it acts like a particle. That is, it is certain where it is going to go, right? So that's why he concludes that just like when this isn't absorbed, that is, the electron isn't absorbed, it has multiple probabilities. Your reality has multiple probabilities as well. So there is already you, your version, in another probabilistic universe, who is already a millionaire maybe, or somebody who is already dead, or somebody who is handicapped, or somebody who is married to the love of your life. And one of the probabilities is you as well. That's one of the conclusion. And he also derives another conclusion from the same experiment. And that conclusion is, when you observe the particle, when you observe the electron, it acts like a particle. So you need to observe the mirror so that you can direct it to be a particle as well. That is, you can direct your reality to be certain as well. So that is one of the another observation that he concludes the experiment with, thus helping us with this whole reality is a mirror principle. Okay, now I'll talk about how you're going to use it. And if you're confused right now with all the scientific terms, then you don't have to be. I'll give you some of the ways that you can use this whole principle, which is very powerful, for your own benefit. But before I do it, I'd like to tell you that the mirror principle of the reality has 4 principles in itself. It's 4 commandments, you can say. We'll talk about that. And once you understand this commandment, you'd be able to figure out yourself why you are where you are. And I'd also like to give you an example of mine, how I used it myself, the whole reality principle, so you can get a better glimpse of what I mean. Okay, so it was around 2020, I guess, when I first came across Reality Transurfing. I was reading a book, and I was also watching YouTube videos about it, and I realized this is a very interesting concept, because I'm a very curious guy. I always like to explore things and ways that I can improve my life with. And I came across Reality Transurfing. And when I first read it, it said you can jump to a parallel universe where you are already what you want to be. And that thing really intrigued me. And I started reading the book. And when I realized reality is just like a mirror, you just have to remember the principles and stick and adhere to it and use other methods that the book has mentioned. I did the same. At that time, I was starting my agency. I was doing social media marketing agency, and I was just starting it. And for the next 30 days, I was following the mirror principle. I did exactly as it said. Okay. And then I saw results as well. In the next 30 days, I went from $0 to $10,000 a month. Because before that, I was working in another agency, getting some good amount of percentage from there. But I started my own. And at the same time, I was utilizing mirror principle. That's when I went from $0 to $10,000 a month in just 30 days. It was faster than that, to be honest. It was around 20 days or some stuff. My client valuation was worth $10,000. Not just that. When I was 16 and when I was starting to get into this whole journey, I had lots of ambitions, lots of goals, things that I wanted to do, etc., etc. And it kept being there. I was slowly progressing. But as soon as I got this reality transurfing methods in my hand, my life started accelerating. Okay, then most of the goals that I had would eventually come into fruition. I wanted to have certain amount of money. I wanted to have certain amount of net worth. I wanted to do certain amount of things. I wanted my life to be in a certain way. I wanted myself to be in a certain way, and all of them eventually came into fruition. Even now, I have so many goals and so many ambitions and so many things in my brain that I want to achieve, like YouTube in itself. My YouTube is slowly growing because I'm using mirror principle even here, right? When I was first starting the YouTube, I was getting some negative feedback at the first in itself, but I adhered with mirror principle, and slowly it started fading away, and my YouTube started growing, and it will grow only from here because I'm still utilizing the mirror principle, which I'll talk about now. So there are 4 principles that you need to completely understand and engrave in your brain. The first principle of mirror is it reflects your internal world outside. I've already talked about this before, but this is the first principle. What do I mean by this? Has it ever happened to you that you wake up early in the morning and you feel super bad? You don't want to go to work. You don't want to do anything. You're just feeling very anxious maybe. Oh my God, I don't want to go to work. If it was a holiday, whatever. You're feeling very anxious. and you're trying to go to work, and when you're going to work, there is a lot of traffic jam. Maybe your colleague doesn't respond to your phone. Your boss shouts at you. If you're in a school, somebody bullies you. Maybe you forget your homework. You forget your book, I guess. Things like that. Things doesn't go the way you want to. It's because your internal world is reflecting that image outside. So whatever your internal world is, that's how the reality is going to be like. What you are right now is 100% your responsibility. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm not saying it's your win. I'm just saying it's your responsibility. It's your internal world which dictates what your life is like right now. You cannot change it unless you change your internal reality, the image that you're presenting. And that image comes with different layers. The first thing is action. That is what you do. It is directly reflected by the other stuffs, which is in the higher echelons of your reality. After action comes your thoughts. Okay, and your thoughts is what you're thinking. So if I want to drink a water, drinking water is my action, and my thought is, oh, I want to drink an action. I want to drink the water. So that's my thought, right? So action comes the lowest, then comes the thought, then above that is emotion. So what emotion you're feeling right now? The emotion of survival. Oh, I have to drink water is the emotion that I have right now, so I'm drinking the water. For example, if I want to not go to gym, the not going to gym is the action. The thought is, oh, I don't want to go to gym today. And the emotion is maybe laziness, right? So that is above the thought. And above it is your habit. What is habit? Basically, the things that you do every single day with thought and emotion becomes an habit. You can have either a healthy habit or an unhealthy habit. And the thing with this whole hierarchy is you can't change habit by changing your action. If you want to change your action, you have to change your habit first. And there is something above the habit as well, which we'll talk in a bit. But these are the layers, right? Everything comes with hierarchy. So your habit needs to change for your thoughts to change, for your emotions to change, for your actions to change. So above thought is your identity. Identity is how you see yourself. If I see myself as a person who regularly goes to gym or regularly works, then my habits are gonna function the same way. It becomes natural for me. That is gonna be my habit. And I'll talk about how you're going to change your identity as well. But that's the highest echelon, the highest level that you can work on. So all of this dictates how your reality is gonna be like. All of this includes in your inner world. That is your object. That's the object. And with all of this, what your identity is like, that's the core of it, will dictate how your reality is. If my identity is of a millionaire entrepreneur, then my reality will reflect eventually after the other three principles are followed, which I'm going to talk in a bit. So that's the first law. And the second law is mirror doesn't judge. It doesn't understand context. It only understands content. Okay? What do I mean by this? For example, if you're feeling sad and if you say that, oh, I'm sad because I'm broke and I want to be rich, then there is a different content there with a different context, right? You're feeling sad. And that's why you're saying, I'm feeling broke and I want to get rich. Mirror doesn't understand the context that you want to get rich. What mirror understands is that you're broke and you want to get rich. That's the only content that mirror understands. It doesn't understand what the context is over there, why you're feeling sad because you're broke and that you want to get rich. What mirror understands is what is the context there. To give you a better example, if you say that, I'm just as a joke maybe, if you say that, oh, I'm useless to your friend, mirror doesn't understand that it's a joke. It doesn't judge. It just presents. Its only job is to reflect whatever image you're putting there. Right? So if you say, oh, I'm useless, and if you say it for enough, which is going to be rule 3, the principle number 3, then it will eventually happen. Right? If you say that, I didn't make 30K this month, or if I didn't hit my goal this month, I think I can't hit my goal, but I have to change it. If you're having these kind of thoughts in your head, mirror doesn't understand it. All mirror sees is just content. It doesn't see the context. So you have to be very careful on what your content is, because context doesn't matter. And we're going to bring everything that I've talked about so far in a full circle at the final conclusion. So be patient right now. The third principle is mirror works in delay. The real mirror, the physical mirror that you see, if you show it something, then you're instantly going to see your image over there. But the reality mirror doesn't work this way. It works in a delay. For example, if you work for 3 months consistently with all the right object or the right picture as your internal world, then you'll not see the result just the next day. It will take time. And the time it takes depends upon the complexity of the image to be formed, right? When I was 16 and I wanted to make 100K a month, even if I did it for like 3 months, it wouldn't happen because the image is too complex. I was literally at school. I had zero skills. I had no connection. I didn't even have a company. So it would take time. And the complexity dictates how long it will take for you to see the result. Try it yourself. If you're a business guy, then you can relate, okay? When your bad months are going, you keep working hard, and the bad month doesn't change to a good month immediately, right? You keep working hard for maybe 3 months, 2 months, maybe even for 30 days. It doesn't change. And suddenly your good month starts after some time. And all of it is because the image that you were presenting back in the day, it takes time for the image to be formed. And then your good month is starting, and then you're relaxing now, you're chilling, you're spending money, maybe you're not working hard enough. And then all of a sudden, after 2-3 months, you go to your bad month again. That's why people are always in this pendulum where the good month and the bad month keeps cycling. It's the same with the relationship. It's the same with the money. It's the same with the business, with your studies maybe. Unless you understand that mirror works in delay, you're never going to have a very upward spiral. It will only be like this in a relationship as well. Maybe your significant other is very happy with you and you start neglecting her. You stop, texting her in time and whatnot. And after some months, your relationship goes to turmoil. And now you're working and putting effort into it again. And after some time, once you do it for enough, your relationship goes back to normal. So remember, mirror takes time. And if the time it takes is long enough, for maybe 2 years, and if I stay persistent, then the reality has no choice but to reflect the image. If I stay consistent enough for the time it takes, whatever time it might be, if I stay consistent enough for that particular amount of time, then the mirror has to reflect the image. So this is a very hopeful way to think about it. This gives you hope. If your goal is whatever your goal is, it's already out there in the metaphysical universe. You just have to stay consistent and produce the image that you want your reality to reflect, and be consistent with it. And it's going to eventually show the image. And the last principle and the most powerful principle is, for the reality to reflect the image, your mind and heart has to be in sync. Very crucial. If your mind and heart is not in sync, then the mirror would not produce the image. That's why a lot of the time it produces image. Whatever your life is right now, it produces it this way because you are most of the time unconscious and your mind and your heart works synchronously. By mind, I mean your brain. Whatever you want your goal as, that's your brain, right? Your brain is the thought, the CPU, I guess. It's the processor. It thinks, it does set the goal, etc., etc. And the heart is your inner intention, how you feel, your overall identity. It's the heart. So both of them has to come in sync. If you want to make certain amount of money and your brain is already there, but your heart is not, then it will not work. So how are you going to do this whole mind and heart synchronization? I'll talk in a bit, but it has to be there. Alcoholics become alcoholics because their mind and heart are in sync. Right? They drink and they are very drunk now, and their more mind and heart are in sync. That is, they're enjoying, they're not thinking much, and they're feeling good. That is, their heart is in sync as well, and it keeps repeating. It's the same with every other stuff. Whatever your life is right now, it's because your mind and heart was in sync and it reflected the image that was inside of you. So you have to change the image, make your mind and heart in sync, and wait for a certain time, and don't give it bad context. And mirror is going to reflect. The reality mirror is going to reflect. It has no other choice but to reflect. Now let's come to practical steps, how you're going to figure out what you want to do. In my previous videos, I've always said, it's not just what your goal is. It's who you want to be, what you are going to do. You got to know exactly everything in clear. That's when you get confidence, right? If you want to be confident, confidence is basically clarity. When you have clarity, then you're confident. So you need to know who you want to be, what you want to be, write it down properly. You can join my Discord. I'll drop A to Z Reality Transurfing Mirror Principle guides over there. It's called the Alchemist Guild. I called it the Alchemist Guild because it's not just about making money and being an internet geek or something. It's all about changing your life, transmutation, using the alchemic power to transform your reality in every other sense, to produce something out of thin air, just like alchemists used to do back in the days. They used to produce gold out of lead with the help of alchemy. That's what we're going to do. We're going to use our raw skills and produce money out of it with the help of alchemy. We're going to use biohacking. We're going to use reality transurfing. We're going to use other skills, a lot of stuff. Join our Discord. It's for free. It's very valuable. And I'll produce a complete guide for this mirror principle thing over there. Okay. So yeah, you got to know what you want to be, who you want to be, where you want to be, what do you do, everything, how you look like, how you dress like, how you talk like, everything. And that's going to be your internal reality. And slowly, by time, when you keep being persistent, your identity changes, etc., etc. But once you know this, you're going to look into it every single day. You're going to look into it every single day. And before doing that, you're going to be in sync with your heart. Your mind is going to be in sync with your heart. And there is a detachment exercise for that. First of all, you need to ask this question: who am I? Where am I? And what am I doing? Very important question. It comes from our ancient Hindu philosophy as well. Knowing where you are. And this whole reality transurfing and this mirror principle is just like Maya as well, if you think about it. What does our ancestors say? They say the reality is an illusion. It's an illusion. It's not real. Just like an image. It's like an image, right? That's what our ancient books teaches us. And who you are, that's the ego, right? You are an ego. So when you reduce the ego, when you remove the ego, then you become the one. That's what the book says as well. But anyway, let's get back into the topic. When you know whatever exactly that you want to do, etc., 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 then you ask this question every single day before you read what you have written. Okay? Who am I? I'm Susan Adhikari. Where am I? I'm in my room right now. What am I doing? I'm making a video. And then once you reply to all of this question, that's when you remove yourself out of ego, outside of your head, and then you sync with your heart. After you do that, don't focus in outside reality. Don't focus in what's going inside. Just be in between of them. It's going to take some time for you to understand it. Listen to it again. Don't be outside of the reality. Don't be inside. Just be in between. Be present. And once you're present in the same state, read what you have written. That's when it's in sync. And once you have read it, do it every morning and every night. Possibly. You have to be disciplined for that. And if you're conscious every single time, being disciplined becomes very easy. I made a video similar to this, what I've just said. When you don't do anything, when you don't think, when you don't use your phone, when you're aware right now into the reality, right now into the currentness, that's when you know what exactly you need to do, what is right, what is wrong, and being disciplined becomes easier. So remain into this state, feel what you are, just imagine you're already that, act like it, talk like it, dress like it, whatever you have written, feel like it, and remain consistent. At the initial stage, you're going to not be able to do it. Okay? You're going to break the cycle again and again and again. But if you remain consistent enough, it's always going to add. It's not going to take you to zero level again. If you went from 0 to 2 and you stopped it, then you restart from 2 to 4, etc., etc. Try to do this who am I, where am I, what am I exercise for at least 30 to 60 times a day. It's very hard, but you have to try it. Even me right now, I can't do it for 30 to 60 times every single day, but I try my best. And once you're there, you always, anytime you're conscious, then you have to remember who your identity is, so that the mirror can reflect to it. What action you have to do, what things you have to read, whom you have to talk, how you have to talk, etc., etc. And when you do that, and when you think about your goal, and if you have too much excess importance, that is, if you feel the fear, then you do this removal of excess importance exercise, which I've talked in my previous video as well. It's basically 6-6-6 exercise. You breathe in for 6 seconds, you hold for 6 seconds, you breathe out for 6 seconds, do it for 4 or 5 times. After you thought that, oh, what if none of the things that I've imagined comes true, then your excess potential gets slightly removed. Do it for a few times and it gets lesser and lesser and lesser. So now you're conscious, you're reflecting the right image continuously, you know where you want to be, who you have to be. Stick to it, and reality will have no other option than to show you what you have presented. That's all for today's video, guys. I hope you like